everybody. Today we're going to make a patio table out of nothing but scraps that I got laying around the shop. Let's go take a look. What you see in that pile right there is what's left of my old patio table. I don't know what this wood is. I thought teak, and then I thought sapele, and it's just rotted, and some of the stuff here is usable, some of it is not. But we're going to see what we can do with that. I've got those beams over there that I picked up of a dump site that were being thrown away. We're going to see what we can do with that. And over here, I have 3 pallets broken down from a good buddy of mine. Thanks, Rafter Chief, who gave those to me. And we're going to see what we can do. Stay tuned. All right, so I've taken the old table and I've separated it into 3 piles. Probably the best salvageable with a little bit of work. And boy, that's a desperate move. And you can see that every one of these that have these lats on them, it's just rotten. And so I'm going to trim those off and see what I can bring out of that wood here. See what we can do. Okay, so now we have taken all of the boards, ripped them to size, cut both edges, ripped, and now we have different lengths. But let me tell you something, I've got dust collection, but that was an awful lot of sawdust. So let's start talking about the frame. All right, so while you guys were away, I took some of that old square stock or whatever you want to call this stuff that I had gotten off of a construction site, and I built this frame, all right? And I'm gonna put some legs in here, so I wanted to make sure I shored up the corners. I wanted to go ahead and put a brace down the middle. You're gonna see that in a second. And across the middle here. Now, here's the thing about all this used lumber. It's crooked, and it is twisted and turned. So I gotta come down there and take a planer and kind of clean some of that stuff off. And then we're gonna move to assembling this table. Okay, let me bring you back in on what's taking place here. All right, so disadvantages with using old reclaimed recycled wood is it is crooked. So you'll notice what I ended up doing here is I added another piece of scrap along the edge, and I drew a line which was down the center of that. And as you'll notice here, that's not, if you follow it here, you follow it all the way down, it's crooked. So this piece is on there straight, but in order for it to have the right amount, you can see here, it's way crooked over here. So I've had to go ahead and add another piece. Now let me explain something what I got here. Now I'm going to be putting these boards on a 45-degree angle going all the way around. And then on the other side, I'm going to take this off and I'm going to flip it to this side. And I'm going to put all 45 angle cuts on that other side. It should be a nice little chevron pattern. What I did is I made sure that I had a completely straight 45 cut starting block here and a complete nice fit 45 there with glues. Took a nail, drove it in here, took my punch, drove it in, because I'm going to run over this thing here with my planer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate the boards that I've got and see how far this thing looks like. Keep you posted. So let me give you a quick update while you were away. So I've taken all of those scrap boards, cut 45-degree angles, put them in, and created 1/2 of the chevron project here, the chevron pattern. And now we're gonna flip this over. We're gonna start laying chevrons on this side. But I wanted to share with you just how twisted these boards were. How you can see that on one hand, we're almost a couple of fingers wide. And here, we're almost a full board crooked. And well, that's why we added that second piece on there. But it's gonna look good once I get the other piece. So next time I bring it back in, I should have the other side of this table's chevrons in place. Bring it back when we got something to show people. Okay, so I want to share with you one of the challenges of working with some of this wood that isn't necessarily the same or cut. Even though I thought that I cut it the same and the angles were right, let me share with you something. So you know that I put this here. So this sucker here I knew was perfectly angled and perfectly angled here. And that's all good, right? The next one down looks good. Next one down was good until we ran into this right here. So I thought it was perfect. And then, so this little bit of piece, I'm like, all right, not a problem. I think I can make that up here. Well, I couldn't make it up on that one there. And I came down to here, and all of a sudden I can't make it up on here. And you think, wow, that little bit shouldn't play a big role. But when you deal with math, it has manifested itself into that. Look at that, how that angle has replicated itself. Plus, one of the things difficult is, even though I pulled it tight and I would put a clamp, I'd connect a clamp. Sometimes I connect a clamp to try to tighten these two. These boards are slightly twisted and these gaps weren't perfect. And all of those mathematical small little fractions caused this slight angle creep, which caused this problem. So what I did was I started all over again. All right, so now I'm gonna have to cut another piece that is really quite wonky. So I'm gonna treat it like bad credit card debt, right? I know it's there, I'm gonna worry about it, but I'm gonna deal with it at a different time. In keeping with that same vein, now one of the things that I love about using old reclaimed lumber and stuff like that is that all of this would have just been in the landfill and thrown away, and it's all twisted and discarded and whatever. So I like to try to make something out of it. It really challenges, all of my hack job work that I do. But these boards are also bowed, right? They're so bored. So in order to make them tight and go into place, I got to put a clamp on them, hold them tight, and then drive nails in here. So it's all about the character. Okay, so got the rest of the chevron pattern in. Now we're going to come back into the pay off the credit card for our little mathematical error. So with a little bit of cuts and a little bit of sands, we got a piece that's cut and ready to drop on in. I'll glue that, tack it down. And the next steps are we're going to get ready to take this jewel and run a planer over it. All right, so let me bring you in. Now we're getting ready to assemble the legs. And we've got some of these old beams cut off. Again, 100% of this table, 100% of this table, including these bolts that we're gonna put in the leg, which came from my washer. When I bought my brand new washers to keep the tub from bouncing around, I'm gonna be recycling those, so 100%. So we're gonna do these legs. So what I'm gonna do is I've cut off a couple of these pieces, put some 45-degree angles on those. I'm going to reinforce this corner, okay? And then I'm going to grab a hold of this. I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna cut that corner off at a 45. I'm gonna drill and recess it in there and put those bolts in. And we're gonna go ahead and see how that looks. Bring it back in here. Well, what did I see? Error. Got to clean that off and start over. So let's start that again, okay? Oh, crazy, man. I'm watching the last two episodes of The Last Dance, and so my head may not be totally in the game. Alrighty. There we go. There we go. So let's... All right. Can we get our head in the ball game here, Garland? Oh, God. I love being a hack. You know, I'm no Jay Bates or Wood Whisperer. I'm a Steve Ramsey, if you will, a big hack. Or what about that failed Canadian politician who's I make it IT who thinks he's a brilliant political scientist? No, nope, nope. Operation hack job. Anyways, here we go. And here we go. And that's how you do it. Okay, so let me bring you in. So these posts were given to me. These were from an old pallet and crate from somebody building a shed. And what I've done is I've taken a chisel, this chisel, and I've chiseled out a 45-degree angle. You'll notice this is a little bit high. That's okay, because I'm going to put it on the table saw and I'm going to trim that down until that fits tight. As you know, this is not totally perfect, so I'll have to custom every one of those. One of the reasons, if you have any questions, one of the reasons why I've added this extra piece and I've put the thickness in that I wanted was because this wood was crooked and turned, so it doesn't make it so straight, but this at least gives me a pretty close, as you can see for wood, gives me a pretty good 45-degree angle, and I eat up a little bit of space here for uncrookedness. Plus it gives me some extra support. So I've done that on all four corners, and they all look good. Little Blair Witch project on you. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that down, get these ready to cut to distance. Got to drill a hole in there, countersink it with a Forstner bit, and start straightening these things out. All right, bring it back in when it's time. Okay, so let me bring you in. Making some good headway. We're in the final stretch here. So let's talk a little bit about what we got going on, all right? So I have all four of the legs cut with the chisel. Those are in place. All right. And now we're going to talk a little bit about this. So what I've done is, and I'll do this on all four legs, I have got these babies here. Those are level on both sides. Okay. One of the reasons why I left these proud a little bit, I was going to cut those off initially. I thought, but you know what? I want to keep that extra lip on there because I thought, A, it'd give it just a little bit more support, but also it allows me an opportunity to go in there and drill some countersunk holes here. What I'm going to use those for is to keep this straight. And what I did is I've already taken my Forstner bit and I've drilled a hole deep because I'm going to sink that in there, that far into that, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and take my bolt, as you can see that it's big enough to set in there. And then I'm going to drill that hole and I'm going to tighten it down, make sure that these legs stay straight. And then I'm going to take all of those off, cut them to length, which I've already got set up here, ready for my stop. I'll cut them to the length that I want, and then I'll bring you back in. We're getting close here. Okay, so I've got all the holes drilled, got the bolts in there and tight. Checked it out. You can see it's kind of sweet. Everything on that jewel there is at 90. Perfectly set up all around. Boom. Now, and I got the screws in here. This just helped me. It's not really designed to go ahead and give it a whole lot of strength. It's actually designed to help me keep this straight while I was getting ready to put the bolt in. Make sure it stays. Now, I got all these cutoffs, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these cutoffs, drop those in there, put them in and glue them. And then that'll make sure that I get, when I put the right leg on there, I have to take it apart. And it'll give me a little bit of strength as well, should I need it. Okay, bring in what the next steps are. Okay, so the leg braces are in. I've cut the legs to length, did a quick round over to put a quick chamfer on the edge of the legs. And now I've got the table flipped back over. And now I need to go ahead and run a flush cut trim bit to go ahead and prepare the table for the facing. We're gonna put a little strip in between. You'll see what I'm talking about. I don't know the name of it. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna put a skirt on it. And so anyways, bring it back in. You know, looking back on it, I should have probably had a mask on too. Like I don't have a few of them around here with this. You know what? I had two 2x4s laying around that were from an old job site. I ripped those down to size. I took two 2x10s, sliced those and diced those up. Got my legs here, cut the size. Got my wheels on the edge. I wanted to make sure they had the right size. I kind of did a quick layout with these legs, and it's hard to tell on this floor. I'll take it outside here and reassemble it later this afternoon to make sure that it's level. I think it's level. I think it's close to level. We'll see if it's one of those okay level. Let me tell you about. Listen. Before I left the United States, I sold all my tools because everything in the United States is 110 and 220, which means that you get rid of a lot of things. And so you got to buy new equipment that are, you know, European standard. And what I did was I went and bought this drill bit. This router bit. And I bought them like, look, these seem to be a pretty decent price, right? No. This is the second one that's gone to heck. So, as Stumpy Nub says, it's good to buy the tools that work. I gouge the living crap out of it. However, give me an opportunity to fall in love with a chamfer. So I'm going to go, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a chamfer on my router on the edges, come back in here, and we're going to sand that jewel. And dare I say, if we do a good job sanding, we'll be ready for some finish.
Great fun.
Okay, I have the last coat of oil-based marine sealer on, and it's drying. Next step is to assemble and get you some beauty shots. Okay, we're out of the sun because it's nice and warm. We got a little help. Wheel assemblies going on. And here is the final product. All looking good and ready for a little summer vacation fun.